Welcome to the High Queen podcast.
Prepare to embark on a journey through books you'll fall in love with, as well as the leading ladies who inspire our own stories.
Our friendship blossomed from pageantry to page turners, sparking a desire to show other women that they too can be their own main character.
I'm Miranda.
And I'm Autumn.
And together we'll lead you through books of all genres, from epic fantasy series, romance, all levels of spice, even to autobiographies of real life heroines.
We are some passionate bitches, so remember this podcast is rated R and prepare your ears. It's time to celebrate the heroines who redefine what it means to be brave and bold.
Grab your books, beverage, and bestie, and crack open your book to page 133. And let's do a little check-in.
Holy shit, we're already so far into this book.
We are. For how thick this book is, we're a pretty good chunk in.
I know. So it's so good. And I'm so happy we're like diving so far into this book already, because that's where I want to be, right in the middle. Now, yeah. I've been taking some more walks outside. The weather here in Florida is getting better. This is a part of my check-in. And I'm thinking, okay, I think I want to do like a workout challenge for myself and anybody who's listening. You can join along. I want to try to match what Nesta is doing in the chapters we're reading. But like, I don't have a gym membership. I have a home gym and I literally teach fitness classes for a living, but so I don't have a gym membership. So I don't have a stair stepper to do this with, you know what I mean? So my equivalent is going to be steps in general, like walking. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to accomplish the same amount of steps she's taking, or same amount of stairs she's taking in steps on my walks. So I'm excited.
I love that. Well, because I know that you'll do this. You can compile the number of steps that she takes in our chapters and let me know, and I'll do it too.
I've already begun.
Perfect. I love that. We are literally almost halfway through this book. My Kindle says we are 42% in.
Amazing.
Like, that's insane. That's awesome.
What about you? What's new with you?
Not a whole terrible lot. I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy because I don't know, why not? Yeah, my husband got me a copy of Quicksilver, so now I have Quicksilver and Brimstone. So eventually I'll read those. But I think you, my mother, like multiple people have told me, wait until you're done with the mass first. There's like the magic is a little too similar. Yeah, and I want to read them. I will. We'll probably do them here, but it's also fun when Miranda has no idea what the fuck is going on. So
I enjoy that.
I'm glad you do. Sometimes I'm like, I probably sound like an idiot. Anyway.
No, not at all. You really don't. I mean, a lot of people who are listening will be like you and first-time readers. And no, you know exactly what you're supposed to know when you're reading it for the first time.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of that experience. And me on the other hand, and listeners like me, we wish we could go back and read it for the first time, right?
Experience it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, that's very cool. Very cool. I'm excited for you and your Grey's Anatomy journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I've seen the first probably like 10 seasons multiple times, and then I like hit a rut, kind of falls off. Our main characters start leaving, but I'm pushing through. I'm going to continue on. I'm a diehard, right? I'll watch it until it ends, which maybe before I'm on this earth. I don't know. Show is going to go on forever.
I am too. And there's like, I don't remember what season it was, but I remember the event that happened, and that's where I stopped watching. And it was a few years ago.
Yeah. And it just keeps going.
Like, I feel bad because I love that show so much, and it was one of my re-bingeable shows. And there's so many seasons of it I haven't seen lately.
Yeah. See, and that's what I'm doing right now. So when I like listen to it, I don't necessarily watch it, especially because I'm in episodes that I've seen, right? So I'll like listen to it while I'm in the shower doing dishes, or kind of like an audiobook. Like that's my like brain shut down time. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, eventually I'll probably have to start like actively paying attention to it again. Or will I? I don't know. We'll see.
I can get pretty far into those seasons before I would really need to pay attention.
Right, right. Girl,
Like
same,
pretty
same.
dang far.
I think I stopped right around COVID. So that's when I would
Mm.
really need to like dive back in. But I did want to say, and I don't know if you realize this, but we're going to see each other again in like 50 days. It's
I
not going
should
to
buy
be
that
very
plane ticket,
long.
huh?
Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, we're going to see each other in about 50 days because y'all know we're pageant girls and our state competition here in South Dakota is coming up. And, Autumn has to come back and see it. And of course, me.
I'm excited.
Yes. But somebody told me yesterday, they were like, it's like 50 days away. And I went, it's 50 days away. It's 50 days away. It's going to be here real quick. So
I'm ready.
Oh, you and me both. I'm ready to discuss this
Okay.
14 chapters, I think. 16 chapters.
Yes, I'm giving us more. I've assigned us large chunks of
We
reading.
can handle it. We can handle it. And you know what? It was good because I think there were multiple times where I'm like, if we'd have stopped here, then we wouldn't have gotten this or we wouldn't have gotten that, which we'll get it
Yep.
eventually. But no,
Yep.
we can handle it, guys. We can do large chunks. We can do big things.
Yay! Well, my initial impression of these chapters, I loved seeing this initial keyword there reawakening of Nesta's more gentle personality. The way that she fights for what she cares about and is opening herself up to the potential of friendship. That's the progress that I want to see.
I agree. I loved those moments. Excuse me. I'm so sorry if everybody just heard me burp into my microphone.
We did not.
Perfect. I can cut that out or leave it, whatever. I don't care. So Nesta's made a lot of progress. Like it's little pieces, but it's also a lot of progress, right? Like
Mhm.
we take the wins where we can get them. Um, it's a reflection of that inner healing, right? Like those little things that we're seeing, giving the tea, the trainings, offering the trainings to other people. And those show on the outside a little bit
Mhm.
before they happen on the inside because it's kind of a mask too. Like if I tell myself that the progress is happening and maybe others can see it, it'll continue to happen,
Yeah.
right? So I really like to see, I think sometimes Nesta takes a few steps forward and then a few steps back, but we all do, right? Like that's
Yeah,
relatable.
that's what I was going to say.
So
It's like
it's
us all.
life. That's what a healing journey looks like. It's not linear. And her making friends, which is such an important piece of that puzzle, of that
Mhm.
healing journey, and her starting to find her own people, I think is so great in these chapters.
And arguably, when's the last time she had real friends outside of her sister who's not obligated to be your friend, but it's a different type of
But
relationship,
like,
you know?
exactly.
And you even, we get some references and some callbacks to their life in the human lands and feeling like they were just thrown
Mm-hmm.
out and all of those people, those friends, abandoned them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know when she's ever really had friends. And we're going to get into like her mom and stuff later, but I wonder if she was even allowed to.
Or knows how to, like
Yeah.
truly knows how to. Yeah, we'll get into all of that mama trauma, grandmama trauma,
Mama trauma. Ooh.
mama trauma. Yeah, yeah. Okay, speaking of all of that, I think it's time we dive into the summary. So I'm taking this one on this week. And,
So Miranda.
shocker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We open with another training session. This time, however, it is in the ring atop the House of Wind. That's where we left with that idea at the end of last week. So, still being stubborn about training, Cassian offers Nesta a bargain, a tattooable bargain. 1 hour of training for a favor from him. Basically, anything she wants, and he'll do it. And so, with that, they end up with their tattoos. And, hell, she may want him in that bargain because there is some thick, double C, thick sexual tension. But rather than a tumble in the sheets, they're going to tumble in the ring. not sexually, unfortunately, at least at this point. We have to actually train. So they focus on the basics, like the basics, stance and breathing. And as they wrap up, Nesta thinks to herself how her mind had become clear of that fog and those shadows, even for just a little bit. A healthy coping mechanism in the making, perhaps, which is really good. That's what we need. So Cassian takes a moment to actually retract his comments from the night before. We don't hate you. I don't hate you. And Nesta offers her own. I have never hated you, Cassian. Okay. So we've talked about needing to keep a queen count. I think we also need to keep a Cassian count for how many times she says his name.
Says it. Yeah, right.
Because that one is few and far between. Queen, hell, in these chapters, Queen was dropped like 7 times. Cassian, I think, has only been said like 4 or 5 times ever. So
it's pretty significant when she chooses it.
Yes, it is. We continue on with Nesta's daily grind. We find ourselves in the library where we have a brief interaction with Gwyn and then the priestess that she works for, Meryl, where Nesta does something nice and actually helps Gwyn out with the problem. So that's really nice. Maybe a friendship is budding there. The next day, Nesta is sore, like can't get up the stairs sore. But she chose to return to training with Cassian all on her own, which is progress. Because Cassian was like, is she coming? I don't know. And then all of a sudden we hear the little shuffle of feet on the stairs, and she chose to come back on her own. After this session, Cassian goes from trainer to courtier, but this time it's in the spring court with Rhys, where they meet up with someone who isn't Tamlin. It is Eris. And Eris wants Rhys and the Night Court to remove or get rid of the queens. And Rhys kind of contemplates it, but ultimately he agrees with Cassian, who says it'll only cause them more trouble to just wipe them out. Eris also informs us that motherfucking Baron wants war so that he can take the spring court over and expand its territory. Lovely. Oh, okay, we find ourselves back in the training ring the next morning for what? More balance and stretching. We've got to get the basics down. Wondering why she can't move on to other things like sword play, Nesta asks about her training and why Cassian enjoys it so much, and she gets some of his backstory with his mother, allowing Nesta to see deeper into why the quote-unquote bastard-born comment is so hurtful to him, as well as why he tries so hard to change the Illyrian ways. And as she watches as he puts up a wall around himself, sure that she is going to use all of this new information to hurt him, it actually hurts her to see how she's made him feel this way, that he would assume that she would mock him over his mother and his pain, his fears, etc. Rather than confront that, she continues to ask questions, and they discuss the capital P prison and some of the things or beings that Cassian helped put there, and we get some wisdom from Cassian. Quote, I'll never sleep tonight. Or no, excuse me. I don't know what I said. Guys, I type this stuff and then I get confused because I'm typing and reading simultaneously. So they discuss the capital P prison and some of the things that Cassian or beings Cassian has helped put there. And Nesta's like, I'll never sleep tonight. I don't know how you can, having faced all this. And wisdom comes from Cassian. You learn to live with it, how to block the horrors from your present thoughts, but they still lurk there in the back of your mind. So one step forward and then 2 steps back as Cassian pushes Nesta on her powers. The holes that she left in the stone on the stairs, he saw that. And what happened between her and Amren, why she stayed by Cassian's side when the king of Hybern was going to kill them. What is she so afraid of? They argue. And then suddenly we leap forward 5 steps because Nesta pushes Cassian up against a wall. And there's some sexual tension again. And he whispers in her ear. I wish it was my ear, our ears. He whispers into her ear. Your power is a song, the one I've waited a very, very long time to hear, Nesta. Quote, do you know what I'm going to think of tonight? I'm going to think of that look on your face. I'm always going to think of that look on your face. So many good little one-liners from him in these chapters. Oh, but he walks away. He spews these flirty lines, and then he walks away, leaves her wanting more.
That's what I was just thinking.
At least not without. I mean, we're wanting more. She's wanting more. He is wanting more. Nesta wants more so badly. She tosses and turns in bed until she can't handle it anymore. And she thinks of him while she pleasures herself. And then we jump to Cassian's POV, where we learn that he was just as hot and bothered by the interaction, needing to relieve his own tension 3 times before being able to even attempt some sleep. And I think another time before he could even head to breakfast.
In the morning.
Yeah, speaking of breakfast the next morning, it is sexual tension filled. You could cut that with a butter knife. Nesta is blushing. Cassian is hard as a rock. Both are begging for someone to either make a move or pour a bucket of ice cold water on each of them. And the latter is kind of what happens, because we hear someone coming. Cassian jumps up and leaves, trying to save some face, prep for training. And Nesta's now convinced Cassian doesn't want her after their hallway interaction. And I said, girl, be so for real, especially because she says she saw a little something pushing against those pants, those Illyrian leathers, when he got up. And I said, girl, be so for real. The flirting continues a bit, but alas, we do have to train. That's like part of the deal. Today's abs, we move on to something new, abdominals. And Nesta's struggling.
I couldn't get to the mute button fast enough. I was like, I gotta get to the mute. I'm sorry. It's like, I'm gonna sneeze. Stop my sound.
I'm fogging up my glasses. That was hilarious. I could see it coming. Oh my god.
I have to restart part of that. I'm sorry. You were talking about abdominals when I sneezed.
Yeah, abs. We move on to something new in our training. Abs. Nesta's struggling, to say the least. Like, core is tough if you haven't worked on it. She's unable to hold like even a 5-second plank. So instead, she
5 seconds
Cassian.
is insane.
Well, right. I was like, I don't do abs enough, and I can do 30 seconds at least at the start, right? So it's like, but also they'd done some other things before, and like I think the plank was the last thing, and so like, we'll give her, benefit of the doubt. But I was like, 5 seconds, Nesta. But has she ever worked those muscles a day in her life aside from like just everyday use? Probably not. Yeah. So she instead taunts Cassian into making him do the exercises that she can't. And once again, she finds herself distracted by this man's beauty, his brawn, even his brains, as he explains the blood rite to Nesta. And all of this actually gives her an idea. Quote, would you train non-Illyrian females? The priestesses in the library. If I invited them to train with us here where it's private and safe, would you train them? And of course, Cassian agrees, as long as, Rhys and Feyre, or High Lord and High Lady, are cool with it. And of course, as long as Clotho is fine with it, ultimately. And so Nesta, she secures Clotho's blessing. Clotho's like, I don't know if anybody's going to do it, but sure. So Nesta posts a sign-up sheet in the library. Feels very much like college, like walking in and, here's a tag for a roommate. She's disappointed to see at the end of the day and the next morning that there are no names yet on the list. And Cassian gives her some sage advice. Keep reaching out your hand. And I said, I wonder where we've heard that before. It's a continuing theme. The days do pass by, though, training after training with no one signing up. Then one day, to break up the everyday monotony, Elaine comes for a visit. And all of that progress that we're seeing Nesta make kind of slips a little. The sight of Elaine happy and healthy, bonding with Feyre and speaking about their father has Nesta pissed once again, which they're triggers for her. And she's pissed to the point that her power can be seen rising up in her eyes. And she again spews some venom, some hateful words, blaming Elaine for their father's death, when in her mind, she knows that's not true and continues internally blaming herself, but outwardly blaming other people. Elaine stands her ground. She counters, quote, "No one but the king of Highburn is to blame for that," and then leaves Nesta to her own self-loathing. And through tears, she demands that Rhysand take her home, prompting Cassian to go to Nesta, asking what the fuck is up. Shocker, this leads to another fight because Nesta feels like why can't you support me? Why are you focused on Elaine and Feyre and everybody else? But again, Cassian reaches out a hand. Whatever you need to throw at me, I can take it. I won't break. And then in the heat of all of that, Nesta kisses him, which was not necessarily what I expected. For her, though, it was with the intention, she tells us, it was with the intention of throwing him off. And then she was going to walk away. But no. Cassian had other plans, and we get an HOT hot makeout sesh against the brick wall. Woo-hoo! Yummy. Man,
yay!
As the heat of that moment and Nesta's hand play against this Illyrian leather boils over, Nesta thinks the look on Cassian's face is regret for what they'd just done, and pushes herself off him and walks away with a quip about, finishing quickly. And I said, girl. And then we get Cassian's POV. And it wasn't embarrassment for the moment. It was embarrassment for the fact that he reached climax so easily, but hadn't done anything for Nesta. But I have no doubt he will rectify that situation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Give us a little bit and we'll get there. However, now is not the time. They are all, Nesta included, needed down at the river house to discuss what is happening on the continent. So here's the lowdown on that. We'll get a little bit deeper into some of these points in our world building, but the lowdown. The other queens have fled Bryallin, however the hell you say her name.
Both sound great.
One of those. The bee queen. The other queens fled her. They left her, which I think is an interesting point. Eris was right. Baron did pledge his forces to her. Bryallin is hunting for the Cauldron to restore her youth. Bryallin is also, we learn, is not Koschei's puppet. They're actually allies, and he is pointing her to the Dread Trove to use them to find the Cauldron. And what is the Dread Trove? Well, it is a mask to raise the dead, a harp to open any door, physical or otherwise, and a crown to influence anyone, even through their mental shields. And all were made, capital M, made by the Cauldron. They were last rumored to be in Prythian, but it has been 10,000 years since someone used the Trove. The Trove items are sentient, which is kind of why we're thinking nobody remembered them. And because they are made by the Cauldron, and others that are made by the Cauldron, aka Bryallin, Nesta, Elaine, and Feyre kind of are immune to the Trove. Like, Feyre wasn't made by the Cauldron, but we're thinking she's immune to the Trove as well because they were all made.
Immune to to forgetting it.
Yes, and immune to their powers. They tell us too that they can use the Trove. The Trove cannot be used against them. which is a positive. That's good to hear. But now, with this understanding that once again, like calls to like, the inner circle wonders how Nesta kind of fits into this. And we ask her again what she took. And it's not much, but it is something. Nesta says, quote, I wasn't aware of what I took, just that I was taking things the Cauldron did not want me to have. It seemed fitting, given what it was doing to me. It's an answer, and perhaps a little bit of even a peace offering. And as they discuss the Dread Trove and how to find it, who shows up? Elaine. And she says, you'll use me to find it. And that's a trigger for Nesta, who shouts at her no. And then Amryn counters, and she says, then you do it, Nesta. And then that causes a fight between our sisters mostly, pretty much just Elaine and Nesta. Nesta cannot fathom why Elaine would want to deal with the Cauldron again. Quote, do you not remember the war? What we encountered? Do you not remember the Cauldron kidnapping you, bringing you into the heart of Hybern's camp? I do. And I remember Feyre rescuing me. And I said, fuck, Elaine, like low blow, but also true. Like, oh, it's so.
Listen, just because it's the truth doesn't mean you needed to weaponize it.
Exactly. And they're so good at that. These sisters are so good at using the truth as a weapon. And it's like, maybe we should talk truth like in a better
nuance.
Yeah. So with Feyre on the brain, Nesta's like, well, why don't you do it, Feyre? Because Nesta's fully okay with like throwing Feyre to the wolves, not Elaine. And we get another bomb drop, baby. And I mean, we knew it was coming, right? Feyre can't look for the trove because, drumroll, she's pregnant. A baby Faye. That's so exciting. I had a feeling that's what Helian's protection spell was for. I assumed, but also it's supposed to take a lot of time, right? I didn't want to be presumptuous. But yeah. I had my brain, especially over the last week of like contemplating it more. I was like, that's what it's for, right? Like she's pregnant. So she is. Yay. We're so excited. Yay. And with this exciting bomb drop, Nesta knows, okay, it's between her and Elaine. Feyre can't do it because she's not going to put Feyre and therefore her baby in harm's way. Nesta's not cruel. She's not going to do that. So that means Nesta's going to have to step up if she wants to protect Elaine, which ultimately that's what she wants, right? Back at the House of Wind later, that sexual tension has never cleared between Cassian and Nesta. It is palpable, and he needs to do something about it. So he heads to her room. Quote, we have unfinished business. Quote, the only mistake was that I came before I could taste you. The only mistake was that you ran off before I could get on my knees. And with that, he goes out to eat again and again. And then he says, we're even now. Gets up and walks out. And I'm like, sure, but come on. The sexual tension isn't going anywhere. Whatever. Except into the deepest pockets of their minds, because Azriel joins them for training the next morning, so they gotta tuck that away. And it's like a cold shower, you know. He's meant to kind of chaperone. A sparring match between the two Bat Boys actually does the opposite, though. It leaves Nesta feeling a little flushed and wondering what it would be like to be between them. Quote, letting them turn all that lethal attention on worshiping her.
Okay, Nesta.
And I said, yeah, I would wonder the same thing.
Continue.
Yeah, let's bring that to fruition. That would be again. Just fine. One more time. Now, the only thing to break her of this daydream, the trove. She's thinking of the trove. She goes out down into the library. That breaks her out of this wonderful little fantasy. And she actually enlists Gwyn's help to see if there's any information within the library. She wasn't really supposed to tell anybody about this, but she tells Gwyn. She trusts her. She wants to talk to her friend. And speaking of our minor character, who's slowly becoming more of a fixture in our novel, Gwyn adds her name to the list of priestesses who will train. One. There is finally one. And with that, we reach part 2 of this book called Blade. We open with a shaking Gwyn stepping outside, like literally outside into fresh air for the first time in years. But she does the lesson with ease and even a little merriment, stating she signed up because, quote, I don't ever want to feel powerless again. And Nesta responds, me too. Growth. And that's followed by another moment of it when she agrees to go to Windhaven with Cassian. Here, Nesta stops in to see Emery, who invites her to have lunch with her, another little budding friendship. As they eat, Nesta opens up and shares some details about her father as a merchant, as well as her mother dying. This is kind of a lot out of Nesta, which is awesome. We learn why she decided to visit Windhaven and Emery, and it's to offer the trainings that are happening at the House of Wind to her. It's a no for now, but Nesta has reached out her hand once again. At the same time that that's happening, Cassian is actually meeting with Eris, and they chat a little bit about what's going on in the rest of the world, and this sets him in a bad mood, both from dealing with Eris in general, but also the comments that Eris makes to him about being a brute and a bastard. And Nesta cannot stand to see his usually kind of silly self so sullen and brooding. So how do you make Cassian happy again? Well, according to Nesta, it's putting his cock in her mouth. And my God, what a scene. And y'all, I was told to video this, and you bet I did. So you're all gonna get to experience me experiencing that. Reading at work. I was like, if anybody comes into this boutique right now and I have to slam down this Kindle and go, hello, welcome to Birch.
Because I told you to film it.
Yeah. Yes,
I really hope you enjoy discovering why I tell you to film some things.
Yes, I do. Because I never know, right? It's either going to be sexual tension filled. It's going to be like world ending.
Crying.
Right. I'm devastated. There's going to be emotions no matter what.
Miranda just sees my little like emoji of a filming camera for a certain chapter, and I'm sure she goes, oh, fuck. What's this going to be about?
It stresses me out, and it mentally prepares me. I'm like, okay, where are we at in the book? What's happening? What the fuck do I think I'm going to have to record? This one I was led to believe it was sexual tension. My God, it is. What a scene in the dining room of all places. Like windows all across. Any one of our bat boys could fly by. Pharaoh could fly by.
Best scene.
That's like as out in the open as you can get without being out in the open. Ooh. And just as they are about to move on from the mouth and the hand play, who walks in for dinner? Az. And I cackled. Also, sigh. Damn it. But
exactly.
More to come, I have no doubt. We got to go back to our training, though, with Gwyn. And after a little more pushing and a gift of some tea and spices, Nesta walks in for training one day to find Emery has come as well. And with that is the end of today's summary.
Yes, so exciting. Okay, so that brings us into some world building. Now, wow, we got a lot of world building. So I'm going to start us off here, and I'm actually going to start with Meryl. So Meryl is obsessed with the theory of worlds living on top of other worlds, or occupying the same space, but being separated by time. She says that some people believe there are, well, she doesn't say this, but this is what she believes. We get it through Gwyn. Some people believe there are 11 worlds, And others believe that there are 26, and the last one being time itself. So I wrote this down, found this very interesting because we have been getting little nuggets of other worlds, right? The first one I think kind of came from Rhysand talking, or was it who's somebody is Cassian. There we go. Sorry, I got to get back in my head.
Yeah.
Cassian is talking about Rhys's universe model. And now we know that Meryl is researching this concept as well. And who does Meryl really kind of work for? Rhys. So this is two different instances of talking about different worlds. Now I'm actually just going to skip for a second to the Dread Trove because one of those items, let me scroll down here. Hang on. Okay. So the other thing is the harp that can open any door, physical or otherwise. It specifically says even between worlds.
Not a physical door.
Right. So now we've got 3 of those instances, which I think is very interesting for sure. So that being said, we've got a lot of little tidbits here, which makes you wonder and assume we going somewhere else? It's come up too often for us not to think that we're going to go somewhere else, which would be so exciting.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, like we were searching for a way to be able to send Amryn home potentially, but like Amryn's not going home now because Amryn is a high fae, but we're continuing to search, which is interesting.
Very cool.
I just wanted to throw in little notes about Meryl. According to Nesta, she's stunningly beautiful, like making Mor look drab, which from Nesta's perspective, she doesn't really like Mor, so that might not be hard.
So what does that mean? Yeah.
Right. But she says that Meryl is this gorgeous woman. She's got white hair and tanned skin, maybe potentially from the Winter Court, a Winter Court priestess of some sort. But
could be Summer too, though, because they have darker hair darker skin and white hair.
Yeah. One of those two spaces. And she's not just researching different worlds. Tell us what else she's researching.
Did I? Oh, sorry. I did write that down. She's sorry.
You did.
She's
I
researching.
Thunder.
Yes, the Valkyries. All right. So a clan of women warriors from another territory, better fighters than the Illyrians, which I thought was so cool. And the name is just a title, right? They're not like a different type of race of fae. In fact, they incorporate fae of every type. And there are 3 stages of training for the Valkyrie. Blade, which is the chapter or the section of the book we just started, which I find very interesting. Okay. And the other one is Valkyrie, being the highest honor in the land. The territory they used to occupy is gone, but it did exist for millennia. And 500 years ago during the war, the last of them died out fighting. So pretty cool to see we have that clan of women warriors, something that Cassian has been fighting so hard for.
I'm like,
and
does he know about the Valkyries?
Yeah, he does. And I think it's just more like long lost legend kind of status.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, and then we got Tamlin. All right, there is a beast roaming the lands of the Spring Court now. Does not see or care for the neglect or crime it sees. It has keen green eyes and golden fur. It perhaps has forgotten its other shape. Even the manner is in despair. Tamlin isn't even in his fae form anymore. He hasn't been for a long time.
He's not even human. He's not a being or a fae.
Yeah. He didn't get better. He got way worse. Like, we thought it was rock bottom. I don't think any of us realized he could go a little deeper.
Yeah. And it kind of then leaves the Spring Court without a proper High Lord. He is there, he's alive, but he's not doing his duties. And that is actually kind of setting up the Spring Court to be able to be taken over by someone else or another court if the right opportunity presents itself, which is what Baron is hoping for.
Ugh. Oh my gosh. So much conflict on the horizon. Okay, so continuing with our world building, we have the human myths of fae creatures that are based on truth, of ancient primordial beings who existed before Prythian and the courts were divided, and before High Lords. This is all so interesting to me because we don't often get like the backstory about Prythian. So when we do, I think it's important we pay attention because it's only being dropped for a reason. This is Cassian telling all of this to Nesta as he's discussing what's in the prison. Okay, so they're discussing blah, blah, blah. They're discussing Lanthus. Yeah. So, and him potentially being one of those fae creatures, ancient primordial beings. Okay. They were called the first gods, ruling over human and fae alike. Beings with no physical form, but who could choose their form. They were keen, vicious, intelligent. Ages ago, they were hunted and driven into hiding. But some remained, lurking in hidden and forgotten corners of the land. And one of them that hid crawled out from the roots of a mountain. Mountains have roots?
We've heard that before, haven't we?
We have. This is the second time we've heard this now. Okay. I was like, we've discussed this. What? Okay, so it crawled out from the roots of the mountain when Cassian was 300 years old. His name, Lanthus. And he chose a form by turning into, or his chosen forms in the past were turning into wind, ripping the air from your lungs, turning into rain and drowning you on dry land. These kind of sound like Feyre's powers.
They also made
sound
me
like
think Amren's
powers.
Because Cassian also is like, he could rip their flesh from their bones. And I'm like, this is also, it's giving Feyre, it's giving Amren.
Yep. Now, in Cassian's case, when he encounters Lanthus, he is mist. And he then, while he's in his mist form, fathers a race of fairies called the Bog, which we have met before. The Bog shows you your greatest fears, reminded us a lot of the Boggart from Harry Potter. Now, those are the ones that feast on fear and pain as much as flesh itself. And Cassian also hints that he used its arrogance against him to flatter and taunt him and trap him in a mirror. Now, I included all of this because any backstory we get on old gods is important for us to remember for when it could come up in the future. But it's also easy to forget that much detail. So I've written it down so that we can come back to this world building section and refer to it when necessary instead of having to drive through this thick ass book to find it.
Where is it? Oh my God. Yeah, it's a lot. And Cassian tells us about two other of these like creature, old god things, beings that he traps, and we get far less description, but they're there. We get Lubia. She's a 7-headed ocean thing. And then we get Blue Annis, who she has cobalt skin and iron claws.
Cool.
So 2 other things trapped in that prison, and I'm like, I hope they stay in there. I hope the prison never falls. That seems like it would be bad.
Scary. Speaking of some potentially scary stuff, okay? The Dread Trove. I wrote down dead because apparently
it's hard. I
can't spell.
I read it as dead, and then I was
Dread
like,
Trove.
That's not what it said.
Okay, so Miranda did a great job of breaking this down, so I'm going to try not to restate everything, but these objects of power made very, very long time ago, and they've been lost. But We do get some timeline things. When Amryn went to the prison 15,000 years ago, there were only 3, but at one point, it's rumored that there used to be 4. Interesting. That feels important. They're not sure if the 4th one was unmade or lost. Okay, we'll remember that. We already talked about the mask. Something we didn't mention is that it was molded from the face of a long forgotten king, which I think is interesting. We don't get a lot of mention of past kings. The harp, we already talked about how it can open worlds and the significance of that. The crown, okay, can influence anyone, and this part I thought was so interesting. It can pierce through the mightiest of mental shields. We understand shields pretty well when it comes to Rhysand's lessons with Feyre, and proximity is important. You have to be nearby them to utilize the crown, but its potential catastrophic powers are very scary. They give you the reference of a parent would slaughter their child under its influence, but they'd be aware of the horror and unable to stop themselves. These are scary objects, but I think what's even scarier is the unknown potential of what happens if you were to combine all 3 and the power you would be able to possess, which is probably why it's good that they're glamored from everyone's memory. But it looks like that's not for long, because there's a lot of Fae who are starting to remember in this instance of trying to find it. So, I guess we'll see how that comes up, but it's obvious. It wouldn't be talked about this much if it wasn't going to be a main plot point. And we've already got Queen Bee looking for it, so we've got to find it first. Now, we do know a very little about the lands that she's in, right? We know there's vast lands to the east in the continent, past what we can see on the map in the book. But then we learn there's another continent too south of that, which is not on our
Nesta
map at all.
Drops that in.
Oh, okay. Wow. This is a massive world and land. So much that we don't see and know about. So very interesting. Those were all my world building moments. Did you have any additionals?
I had a few. I wanted to touch on a few priestess things. So the House of Wind priestesses live in dormitories in the mountain that are glamored from sight, and only Rhys and them know where they are. And now Nesta, because Gwyn trusts her to tell her that, which feels slightly scary, because we know how that goes when you tell people about something that's protected and hidden and glamored from the world, Valaris. Yeah. So hopefully that does not bite anybody in the butt. The House of Wind priestesses do not leave unless, quote, it is time for us to depart back to the world at large. So they pretty much do not leave that space. Gwyn also tells us that priestesses honor the mother, the cauldron, and the forces that be. And I don't think we'd heard that last part before, the forces that be, as kind of a piece of what they, I don't know.
Believes. Yeah.
Believe. Thank you. I was trying to find the right word for that. Same thing within the realm of the priestesses, because I had been wondering about that stone that like Ianthe had. What is that for? What does it do? It's called an invoking stone. It's like a siphon, but the power that comes from it is from the mother, and it cannot be used to harm. It's only for healing and protection. So it does something. It is for power. It does more than just pretty.
Just want to think about that for a second. Ianthe never used hers for healing and protection.
I don't think
Perhaps
she could.
I don't think she could use it at all, because she wasn't using it for the right intentions. So the mother didn't gift her with power, which is why she had to constantly make it look like she had power by setting up scenes and predetermined situations.
Yes, ma'am.
So interesting, because she's our first exposure, and you kind of think, oh, their powers aren't even real. Oh, they are. She just never really had them. She wasn't good enough for them.
Yeah, which was a good clarifying thing for me. And I'm glad that we're getting a better view of our priestesses. And
yes, same. Same.
Yeah. We learn the names of the 3 holy stars above the mountain, Ramiel. I'm gonna try to say these properly. Arctus, Carinth, and Orestes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the only one I think, Orestes, Ramiel.
Orestes. Oh, Ramiel. Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, those are really good.
Thank
Those are
you.
hard
Thank
ones
you.
too.
Yeah. Yes, they are. When I read them, I was like, I am seeing the words. There's nothing in my head. So we have names for those 3 stars, and they actually represent something for the Illyrian warriors. Their classes are broken down into those 3 kind of stars. So the Arctosians, those are the warriors who don't make it to Ramiel but survive the blood rite. The Oristians make it to the mountain, but they do not reach the top. And the Corinthians are
Corinthians.
the Corinthians are the elite warriors who do scale the mountain and reach the top. Only 6 people have ever been within the Corinthian warrior class. 3 of them are our bat boys. So
Crazy.
yeah, that is crazy, but super cool. And then just a couple other like random things. Crochet, we've mentioned this a few times, but I don't know if we have really, or not we've mentioned it. It's been mentioned in the book. I don't know if we have touched on it. So Crochet cannot be killed. Quote, he is the master of his own death. So his siblings could be killed, but he cannot. Just something to think about and process as we eventually meet Crochet, because I'm sure that motherfucker's coming into play even more. So yes, Crochet. And then because we have our first Fae baby that we're going to get to experience, they gestate. They are in the womb for 10 months, a month longer than humans. And we also learn that firstborns are not guaranteed the heir to a High Lord's power. It could jump around between siblings. It could go over to a cousin. It could even leave a bloodline entirely. You have no idea who may end up with the High Lord's power.
And we did know a little bit about that given Tamlin's history, not being the firstborn, the unlikely to get the power. And then Reese, I think, kind of mentions it too. Like it could have gone to Morrigan. It went to him. We never really know. So, yeah, we don't know if this little baby will be our future High Lord or not, but
I feel like it will
that's
be.
okay.
He will be. We know what it is. It's a he. Well, Faye was pretty damn convinced that, what the bone carver showed her is the little baby in her belly. So, yeah.
Well, let's jump into our heroine.
Yes. So, of course, we're going to start with Nesta. It's not really chronological to the story the way that I broke her down this week, but I broke her into parts because, clearly she's our main heroine right now, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot to chat about. So the first Nesta chunk is healing Nesta. And some of these little quotes and things I wrote down, I think give us an understanding of why she is the way that she is or where she is like mentally. She is a very, very proud person. She does not want to be made a fool. We see that when she sits on the rock, when they go to the Windhaven camp, the way that she kind of pushes back against the people in her life. That's why her pride is so hurt. She feels foolish for what she has deemed as shortcomings in protecting those around her. She even says this quote to us. She had failed in every aspect of her life, utterly and spectacularly failed, and keeping others from realizing it had been her main purpose. She had shut them out, had shut herself out, because the weight of all those failures threatened to shatter her into 1,000 pieces. I think that I think that is really helpful for us when we're in the mind of Nesta, to not just be like, oh my God, why is she the way that she is? Like we're getting understanding of this deep, dark place. And I think that makes her more relatable then to us too.
Absolutely. She definitely has some very deep rooted shame that she needs to process. And sadly, we can see it clearly in her own words. Like the intrusive thought when she is recalling the words from Cassian, everyone hates you. She repeats it in herself all the time, right? She keeps referring to herself even as a monster.
Yeah, and I want to get more into that like use of monster and some other verbiage here in just a second. I want to break us down into kind of Nesta's healing and like talking about her parents and her family.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to mention I think a really cool healing point that really didn't have like a space anywhere else. The house drops off smut for her, right? It like gives her books. And she tells us that she laughs like a belly laugh, a true laugh for the first time. And she doesn't even know how long. And I remembered Feyre having one of those moments of laughter with the inner circle or Rhysand or someone. And she hadn't laughed and she didn't know how long. That's a piece of that healing puzzle.
Absolutely.
So I really wanted to like highlight that. But coming back to that word monster, or another word that she uses, creature, she says, quote, I was my mother's creature. What a description.
Mm-hmm.
Cassian kind of pushes Nesta about her mom, asking her in these chapters, you know, what was she like? And Nesta responds, a worse version of me. Again, mama trauma. Speaking of, it sounds like maybe that trauma was passed down, because we learn a little bit about the grandmama, which is what she liked to be called, grandmama. Um she died when Nesta was 7, but that was not before instilling a lot of not great things within Nesta, I would think. She would beat Nesta's hands raw with a ruler for mistakes that she would make in her dancing lessons, called her worthless and clumsy, and that she was a waste of her time. So she was instilled within her from a young age that she could not make mistakes. And if she did, she was worthless. She was nothing. And then we wonder why she feels so beaten down by what she deems to be failures, because that's what her formative years told her. That's what she experienced in a way that Elaine didn't, because Elaine was kind of ignored by, not ignored, but Elaine was the pretty thing. She was the doll, and Feyre was too young. So Nesta's experience, her childhood, was vastly different
Exactly.
than her sisters.
Exactly. She's made to feel that she was only worthy if she was perfect and didn't make mistakes. And to add to that, we learned that when Nesta was just 12 years old and 11 Elaine, their mother was already contemplating the usefulness of them, how Nesta would be used for power and advantage, always a tool and a pawn in someone else's game. And she was raised to be strategic, not necessarily loved. For her, love has always felt like it's been something more transactional instead of soft, nurturing, and expected, which is traumatizing.
Very. And I think that tells us too why she feels she has no control over her life, because she never really has, right? Like her mom was going to make the decision for her. Her dad then like it's that has got
to
to
her,
be, yes, she never gets to decide what happens,
including the Cauldron.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, we're not dismissing her actions from the last 9 months, year, whatever, but the drinking, the partying, the sex, like those were things that she could choose. They felt within her control when nothing else did. So it helps us understand those decisions, whether we agree with them or not.
Exactly.
The next little chunk that I have is Nesta's power, because we know it's there and other people know it's there, even if she doesn't want to admit it. She calls the power within herself alien and grotesque. And I put this right after the healing section because I got to thinking about the way that she describes her power. And I understand why she may call it that, being from the Cauldron and what she feels that it has cost her. But I think she may need to accept that power within herself to truly kind of break free of this self-deprecation that's constantly happening inside her head when she feels that power building up. Like she needs to accept it, I think, in order to grow with it, because it's not going anywhere, unfortunately, at least not at this point. But yeah, we continue to see it kind of pop up. We see it continue to sort of rise. You see it in her eyes. It's like molten steel, silver fire. She feels it kind of along her spine, which again I think is very akin to like Feyre learning her powers, feeling that bubbling underneath her skin. It's there whether you want to use it or not, whether you want to accept it or not. And last week you mentioned, I thought it was her hand, but now I'm going to agree with the nails piece, because you mentioned that Nesta's nails were perhaps made of iron, and that's what left those marks in the stone. And then Clotho says to Nesta that she has a will of iron, which I just thought was an interesting little teeny tiny little thing from Clotho. But to say she has a will of iron, and then Cassian like corrects her, he says a will of steel. But Clotho, I think, chose iron for a reason.
Yeah, that was such a good catch. I missed that. And again, it's just like reaffirming some of my inner theories that very well so could just be that. But it's cool and I love it. Okay, so I can see how Nesta is finding ways to live with that power and to let it kind of coincide with her in the same body. I agree with you. I think she needs to accept it in order to be fully healed. And I think the training is helping that in a lot of ways, because she even says her mind, feels clear when, clear as the sky, and she's able to finally sleep, which is great for her healing in general. And I think Nesta is setting, she's settling in, you know what I mean? And she's kind of getting used to the idea of her power. And with that, I think this settling is also mirrored by her becoming more empowered herself and willing to empower others through the training, right? With Gwyn and Emery and the other priestesses. And it's a beautiful reclamation of her own body, as it would be for so many of those other individuals. And, for Nesta, it's this taking control piece, right? She's never really felt like she had control of her life. Then she lost control of her body and some of its autonomy with Thomas. She lost control of her bodily autonomy with the Cauldron. This training is a way for her to reclaim that, and her power is a part of what is inside of her body, reclaiming that as well to make it her own instead of something that was thrust upon her. And she's climbing a shit ton of stairs. Yes, and I really think it's helping, because whenever she needs to clear her mind, that's her next coping mechanism, is to go there to essentially like numb it out, but in a better way. Here's your stair count. We get 150, we get 1,000, we get 2,000. I'm like, you go, girl. You did it.
She killed it.
She's a small regression there where she does 900, but nonetheless, we're proud of her.
Did it. Yes. So what does that put us at? That puts us at 3,050 steps. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like
a day
2
total,
miles.
I think a day. Yeah. I was going to say we can do that a day. I think I do that a day. I'm going to keep track. We share our Apple Watch. So we'll be like, I walked. Did you walk?
Here's the other thing. There's a caveat for me, is that I have to do that in addition to what I already do. Like, if it's a day where I have a lot of fitness classes and I already know I'm going to be hitting 10K, no. I have to go take a walk. I have to go take a walk to get me those steps. Not what I'm already doing.
No, I love that. It's like, okay, I may have already walked 10K steps, but we're going to do Nesta's 3,000.
Yes,
I love that. I love that. It's the Nesta workout. Can we like name that in the Apple Watch or something?
I wish we could. That'd be so cool.
That would be cool. Like at a workout, Nesta's walk. I love that.
Nesta's walk.
So you guys can join us on Nesta's walks, which is good, right? It's clarifying for the brain. Next up, Nesta and her sisters, and these all kind of like fit within the healing, right? Like that's what this journey is about.
For sure.
So there's a hair. I hate that. I don't know where it is. I'm overstimulated. Where's my hat? Speaking of overstimulated, Nesta and her sisters, we get lots of like little childhood backstory, and maybe this had been mentioned once before. I didn't remember it. Feyre had once taught Nesta how to use a bow. Nesta never really did anything with it, but she was taught how to use a bow at one point in time. Elaine's visit up at the House of Wind makes Nesta realize just how their roles have reversed since the last time that they were in the House of Wind. It's probably kind of a mirror that she can see into a little bit, because the last time that they were at the House of Wind together, Elaine was the one who was a ghost of her former self, of her current self. And now Nesta sees herself as worse off. She calls herself a wraith whose rage and hunger were bottomless and eternal, which feels like something, bottomless and eternal. Like, how are we going to come back from that? But we're seeing it happen, right? We're seeing it happen. But kind of an interesting mirror almost to see how Elaine has changed and how Nesta has changed from when they were last together here. We learn that as a human, Nesta would have sold her body to keep Elaine fed because, quote, Elaine meant everything. And I sit here and I wonder, is it sort of like Feyre at the beginning of ACOTAR? Now, Nesta would hate us right now for doing these comparisons between the two of them. But Feyre at the beginning of ACOTAR is so stressed over the fact that she's breaking her mother's promise of protect your sisters, protect your family, keep them together, whatever exactly those words were. Is Nesta so ingrained in Elaine is everything, protect Elaine, because her mother told her that? Where does that come from? Why is that such a deep-rooted necessity in Nesta's life? And it makes me wonder if that came from something that maybe her mother said. Or maybe Nesta doesn't believe anymore that she can be the queen her mother set her out to be. So maybe Elaine is what would have brought them out of poverty and saved them. I don't know. It's very interesting, the comments that we continue to get about Nesta and Elaine's relationship.
Yeah.
We also learn that Nesta's always been pretty prickly with Feyre, even in childhood, because we get this little story, this backstory from when they were kids about being in their father's office. And Feyre was just so interested in the spices and the trade rather than the marriages like Nesta was, because that's what she was taught by her mother, where Feyre was not. And that annoyed Nesta. Why aren't you looking at these areas where we could find a husband? Why are you looking at it as if it's a trade route? That's not what we were meant to do.
Yeah. I really think that Nesta's inner turmoil is very reflected in the ways that she shows this like tangled web of self-loathing when it comes to Feyre. And particularly with Nesta's own failure as a sister and a caretaker. You're right. She's frustrated with Feyre for not being interested in these things, but I think she also felt like she was supposed to guide Feyre as her eldest sister. And then didn't. As life another failure in her mind. Yeah. And as life continues, she keeps failing to show up for her little sister, which is deepening that tangled web of self-loathing. So every time she looks at Feyre, that's all she sees is her hatred for herself and what she couldn't and didn't do. Yeah. And how jealous she is, perhaps envious of Elaine and Feyre's connection when she used to have that. You talk about like, why Elaine? And I feel like I'm getting more of it. But for me, I think it's because Elaine used to be able to fully see her without judgment. And I think that explains why Nesta was so attached to Elaine. And I mean, think about the fact that everybody in Nesta's life wanted to use her, and all Elaine did was love her despite her ugliness. She was
Mm-hmm.
the only one who ever really just gave Nesta unconditional love. And perhaps that goodness is, why Nesta was so attached to her for so long. And I do think there's a little bit of the old Nesta shining through here when she shifts from this self-destruction zone into responsibility when it comes to searching
Mm-hmm.
for the trove. She thinks to herself, search for it. Of course I'll search for it. Where the others in the inner circle may not believe it, but I don't think she would ever let her sisters be put in harm's way if she had the potential to do something about it, at least not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah.
knows better. She wants to do better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I want to see the relationship between Nesta and Elaine repaired, but for all of their healing, I would love to see Nesta and Feyre be able to finally have some sort of a relationship, because I don't even, I mean, I don't even know if you can really call what they have right now a relationship. They've never really
Yeah.
had, there's never really been understanding there. Like for just a moment, I think in like ACO War, we were getting a little bit of
Yeah.
connection.
And I mean, if we go even further back, the glamour didn't work on Nesta, and she could have just chosen to stay put in her comfortable life. And instead, she
Mm-hmm.
got in the back of a horse in the dead of winter and went to go find her sister in woods that she had never been to before.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
it's somewhere in
want,
there. It's in there.
and
Just
I
gotta dig
want
real
that
deep.
Nesta, exactly, like you can do it. You show little glimmers of it. You can do it. You can be the person you want to be. You can be the big sister you want to be. She just has to break out of the mental, wall that she's put up
Yeah,
against doing that. So, and last but not least, well, not even last but not least, because I've
definitely
got a
not
whole other
last.
section. There's so much about Nesta, guys. So Nesta and Cassian, that's next. She doesn't realize how much Cassian pays attention to her.
Nope.
Like in
It's a
every
lot.
aspect.
He
Yes.
has eyes on her at all times. But she's doing the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's thinking about him all the freaking time. In fact, she's so in tune with him that neither of them really see it in each other. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting how, she has all these feelings of self hatred, and she sees those feelings. It's in Cassian. She can see it in his face, and she really doesn't see herself as a good person. But the thought of him having any similar feelings about himself is something she like just can't stand, because she
Mm-hmm.
knows and believes that he is truly good. Like we do too, boo.
Mm-hmm. Cassian's a good one. He is.
Yes.
He is. I found it interesting that Cassian remarks that when they make the bargain for her to train, and there's that zap of power, that like feeling of, the tattoo going on your skin, that for Cassian, it's more intense. Something about that moment is like even heightened for him. It's like, is that just sexual tension?
Yeah.
Is that like a bond a little bit being, pulled on? Like, what is that extra spicy feeling that Cassian
Right?
gets from that bargain?
Could be, could be. Maybe it's that his feelings are a little stronger or just a little different from hers,
Mm.
but because she clearly cares for him. I mean, okay, so this part, she clearly cares for him because she didn't want anything to do with those other people's special journeys, as she puts it, but she's so willing to hear about him and the
Mm-hmm.
unspeakable things that he did as a part of his journey to healing with losing his mother. And Nesta, she doesn't see herself as a good person, but she also is willing to hear about anyone's journey that she doesn't want to hear about anyone's journey that she thinks is like wholly good, because that wouldn't really help her to feel seen. She doesn't believe she's wholly good. Why would she care about their journeys?
Right.
But she sees truths about herself reflected in Cassian's pain, and it's something she's willing to actually hear.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that someday she allows herself to hear other stories and to see that it's more than what she deems to be wholly good, right?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we could look at Cassian and be like, oh, like everything he did was for this purpose, and we have to think of, does Nesta know about like Feyre having to kill those fairies under the mountain? And the choices that she made that are not wholly good, that were gray. And I think she's got to see that too, that there's more gray in the world than there is just sort of this good and
That
bad.
she fits in just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That she fits in more than she thinks she does.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I just wanted to bring this back up. Her daydreaming of a threesome with Cassian and Az. I giggled out loud. I said, Nesta, you nasty gal, give us more.
I mean, it's about time someone thought it for us. Okay, I needed it written on the page.
Yeah, a menage a trois.
Oh, goodness. Well, on that note, we get some tension from the it's, quote, just sex line with Cassian. And her telling, I know. And her telling the house to look away for a while. Don't watch me. I'm blushing.
The house is so funny to me.
Girl is hot and bothered, and she even gets on her knees for him. Ooh, a power move and super vulnerable moment too. I ate that shit up. I was like,
girl.
Yes.
For real. Read it again. One more time.
Yes. Okay. So fucking hot. And then, just to go back for a second, that just sex line did make me a little sad, though, because it's showing her detachment. And I really think that had she not said that, Cassian would have been like, yes to more. Yes to more. I remember you laying over my body. I remember crawling to you. Yes to more. I don't think actually either of them are ready for that yet.
I don't either. And I love that. I think it's Azrael, like right at the end of these chapters, is like, don't show all your cards. Don't show your whole hand yet. And I agree. I think that's good. And I think it's good not only for Nesta's healing, but their healing of their relationship, whatever that relationship ends up being. Jumping straight into like full-blown sex might not be good for that. It might not be the right decision. I mean, we'd all be excited to read about it, but I agree.
Feel the same.
No, it wouldn't. And I hated that line, just sex. But I also get where it's coming from for Nesta. And, we can just hope that it becomes more than just sex when we get there eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah, spicy. Okay, now we get to the last but not least section about Nesta. So Nesta and her friends. Initially, we've talked a lot about like, has she ever had friends? And before we even get into like Gwyn and Emery in these chapters, Nesta says to the house, I think you may be my only friend.
Oh, I think that's supposed to be received in a like sad, pitiful way, but I thought it was so sweet. Yeah, like this house knows her so well. They're trading smutty books. It's bringing her flowers as a thank you. And it's it's described as a cat so often. It's like a sweet cat brushing up to her for attention and affection.
I love it. And I love
good friend.
Cat, so the house is so fun. It's so interesting to me. I'm like, why? What is this this house, this thing. But the house is not her only friend. We grow in these friendships in these chapters. So she does have friends. She gives Emery a gift of spices and tea. She's connecting even deeper with Emery when they talk about the fact that they like the same kind of books. A
So
book
cute.
bestie, if you will. I love that. And although she doesn't read the same little smutty romances as Emery and Nesta yet, Gwyn likes to read too, and she agrees to read one of the romances that they both love. And I said a book club.
A book club.
It.
I actually this book club doesn't really have an official name in the book, but we as fans have given it one, and I have a sticker of it, and it's called the House of Wind Book Club.
I love it. I love
yes. I think it's fair to say Nesta is making friends or maybe even chosen family of her own.
I thought about that too, like her own little inner circle a little bit. Her own chosen family. Yeah. It's fun to see her make friends. And I mean, Cassian's her friend too, right? So like, duh, Cassian's gonna come right after Nesta. They are intertwined. So they feel like the perfect place to start. And I mentioned that like he really pays attention to her and she pays attention to him, right? Cassian is really smart. I don't know if we before this book gave him that credit because we didn't see it as much, right? We only got glimmers of it, but he's really smart. He knows Nesta very well. He recognizes pretty quickly, and that's why we moved to the House of Wind training ring, that she would rather sit on a cold hard rock for 2 hours than look like a fool in front of the Illyrians. He picks up on that pretty, I mean, within what, like 3 days of like them interacting and whatever. He pays a lot of attention. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he does. He knows her so well, and yet he's still worried that at first when he's like they're in the training ring that she will say no. I mean, it's quote, he wondered if she noticed his fingers trembling slightly. And it says that for her he says that for her he has no strategies. He's literally just winging it. Pun intended. Tee. I mean, he's so desperate to get through to her that he makes that bargain. I mean, that's desperation. We know how serious bargains are, and Nesta knows it too because Feyre had told her already how serious bargains were. And I'm glad though that it came with this line, right? You said it earlier. We're here because we don't hate you. I don't hate you. And her reply of, I don't hate you, Cassian. He wants to be that rock for her, not the rock. Maybe the rock she's sitting on. Okay. Maybe both. but you know, I think it's hilarious that he is giving her all these quippy moments. He's giving her all this comedic relief, but then sweet with, you know, whatever you need to throw at me, I can take it. I won't break. So that's what she needs. Yes. She needs someone who's going to be strong.
So before we get into rock hard Cassian, I want to mention.
Let me put my dog away and cover her ears. This is inappropriate for her little ears.
Yes, protect the children. You guys know this is rated R. So I love that Cassian values consent, like in every aspect of his life. And I think that that's something really great that I wanted to highlight about him. We see it in Nesta's bedroom when he waits until he gets a yes to continue to do more, to walk back away from the doorway, to do all of the nasty things he does in her bed. And he gets consent to enter the library. When speaking with Clotho, when going down to talk to Nesta, being around the other priestesses, he asks for consent in the training ring with Gwyn and Emery and Nesta before he adjusts their arm. He is constantly making sure that what he is doing is with consent, which I think is great.
Well, his mom didn't have any.
Exactly. And we wonder why these bat boys are such incredible men. they had a lot of trauma that made them into the men that they are, unfortunately. But so
segue.
Yeah. So get the moms out of our brains and get Cassian in our brain, because we learn that he is, italicized word, enormous, according to Nesta. Like so enormous that she describes it. Is this a part of his journey? No, but you know what? We needed to talk about it because it's a part of our journey.
This is important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She needed both hands and her mouth to get around this thing.
Y'all, I was in my kitchen when I was listening to this part, and you're doing exactly that. I started grabbing random shit.
You're
I was
what?
like,
do I have...
Okay, so that's both hands.
This is too small, width-wise.
Okay,
terrible.
I'm sorry. If you're a listener and not a watcher, you might want to go watch that part. We were checking lengths on our water bottles to see if it could fit this description. Okay, yes, he is a big male. Good for her. These are some more spicy moments that I needed the air conditioning on for, okay? We have, quote... Oh, wait, you said so many of these. I'm going to say them again. They're too good. Okay? The only mistake was that I came before I could taste you, that you ran off before I could get on my knees. Fire emoji, comet emoji. Ah! And he finally confronts her about laying her life over him in front of the King of Hybern. And he talks about that look, right? When she's like staring at him. The first time I saw that look on your face, you were still human, and I nearly went to my knees before you. Your power is a song, one that I've waited a very, very long time to hear. Do you know what I'm going to think of tonight? That look on your face. That quote is one for the ages. I fucking love that quote. I nearly went to my knees before you. Your power is a song. Like, and he talks about Nesta's power as the power of death. And how he has walked hand in hand with death his whole life. Her power, death, a song to him. Like, I love these two so much.
So good.
I'm obsessed. When people are like, what's your favorite book? And I'm like, this one. These are the reasons why, okay? It's not just about his massive penis. It's really more so about his words.
He does a really good job, right?
Yes. And for somebody who doesn't know how to compliment Feyre on Solstice, man can talk.
Yes, he can compliment Nesta. He can use his words. SJM, you are a word maestro. I will give you that. Between we've had Rhysand, we now have Cassian. Now give us Azriel. That please,
right?
Please give us that. Speaking of Cassian's enormity and what he does with it, the idea of the House of Wind being sentient and then him being like, oh my God, it knows what I've done in my bedroom, in the bathroom, everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say it's a fan. It likes a good smutty book. It was probably like, yes, Cassian, continue.
Yeah. I approve. Do what you want. The house being sentient is so funny to me. So funny. And speaking of funny things, these are just little, like, he has allergies. They're in the spring court and he's itchy, which, like, same. He's itchy. His nose is running. He's like, can we get out of here?
Yes. I was like, bruh, same. All this damn pollen.
Eternal Spring would not be the place for me. I'm sorry.
No, it sounds sweet until you realize I can't handle it. I need a lot of Zysol.
So Tamlin comes to your home. He kidnaps you, takes you over the wall, and you go, baby, this ain't going to work unless you're going to give me some Zyrtec. Like,
got way too many sinus infections going for this to be hot.
Constantly sneezing. He's like, I can't love this human. Just kidding. Cassian mentions with a conversation with Azrael that he wants kids. He goes, of course, I want children.
Yep. And then he instantly thinks about Nesta right after that. His inner desire, but I think even he is afraid to think it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he says too, like, doesn't he think to himself that he had never allowed, like, did I write that down? No, I didn't. He had never allowed himself to think about that, really. Like, yeah, of course he wants kids, but there was never a woman, kind of like Rhysand, there was never a woman that he wanted to go the next step with, to take things further than just being in his bed. But he will think of Nesta that way. Even if he's scared to, she still creeps into
up
his mind. Wonder if Nesta wants children. Interesting. I would be curious her thoughts on that. And then I think we've got two more little things. One thing that I love, Clotho. I just love Clotho and the little things that she writes rather than says. She writes and calls him Lord Cassian, and he's like, no, I'm not a lord. And she goes, you are a lord of good deeds. It is not a title born but earned. And that's heartwarming for him. It's heartwarming for all of us, right? A reminder that he may not have been born into this position, but he continues to prove himself as someone who deserves to be where he is.
Yes.
And then finally, I want Cassian as a trainer. Where do I sign up? Send me the link, give me the app so I can sign up for House of Wind trainings with Cassian, please.
Yes, same. Wreck me.
Seriously. I mean,
double entendre.
In more ways than one.
Now, between him and Nesta during these trainings, these are some of my favorite moments that occurred. Okay, she thinks that, he opted to keep his shirt off because arm day, duh. Okay, and then the next Nesta saying, when do I stop being sore? Never. Never? Never.
Relatable.
But that's like actually so true. I did an extreme workout last night in my class, and I was literally convulsing leaving the studio because my muscles were so sore. And I woke up this morning and I was like, ugh. You would think it would stop.
I'm gonna go do it again.
It never stops.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
Good for you. I know that feeling. You're like, okay, the soreness will go away, and like it does, but it doesn't, unfortunately. Yeah.
Sorry, Nesta. Bad news bears.
Part of the fun of it, right? Well, from Nesta and Cassian to Elaine, we learn that Elaine is not a virgin. She gave Grayson her maidenhead.
We were wrong.
We were wrong. And I said perhaps that was why she was so distraught over no longer being able to be with him and having to like be with another male potentially. Yeah. That makes even more sense. But Nesta bringing up Grayson in their fight didn't send Elaine into a full-blown spiral, tears, whatever in the moment. So growth for her too. Like, whoop whoop. Good job, Elaine. That's awesome.
Yeah, she most definitely has had some growth. I mean, she's even healed enough to be ready to herself step forward and find the trove. So good for her.
Yeah, and to use her power. And yeah, I like that she calls out Nesta too. She's like, we have our powers. we still have them. They're there.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of calling people out, she continues to, I initially said find her voice, but I don't even know if she's found it. I think she's just using it. I think she's had a voice. She's just now using it. And here's a couple of things that she says. Quote, you do not decide what I can and cannot do, Nesta. And I was like, man, I want Elaine's POV because she's more than we think she is. She's more than just this
a lot of lady on the outside, but there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, I really want that POV. And then this quote, Shall I tend to my little garden forever? You can't have it both ways. You cannot resent my decision to lead a small, quiet life while also refusing to let me do anything greater.
Yes. I'm so glad that she is finding her own voice. You know, she is. You're right. I think this has been going on for a long time. And I think that's also evident with this comment that Nesta makes to Cassian, because he's like, what did you say to her? Okay. And then she says, well, of course you'd wonder what I said to her, always defending sweet, innocent Elaine, when perhaps she is the one with the sharp mouth that no one sees.
Because Nesta probably heard it. She would have maybe been the
Hmm.
person to hear it for years. And now Elaine is choosing to voice it
Use it
around
on
others.
her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it has been there all along. I don't think this is like a new, like, I'm finally figuring out how to be strong. No, I think it was in there.
I
She's just
agree.
becoming bold enough to say it out loud.
Yep.
Hmm. Hmm.
Her own
Yes,
little journey.
I do think it's fair though that Nesta points out that not that long ago Elaine was in her position and no one gave Elaine the types of ultimatums that Nesta got. And Elaine's like, well, I wasn't out gambling and doing those other things.
Mm-hmm.
Which Nesta, she's like, what? Fucking people? And just
It's like,
goes
yeah,
ahead
say
and
it.
says it. And Elaine just goes to look extremely offended. And that's the conundrum for me with Elaine is I'm like, you've got a sharp mouth that no one sees. You're willing to say some pretty sharp words. But then Nesta says like something that's not prudish. And she's like
Oh
clutching
my
her
God.
pearls. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, those aren't appropriate words, you know?
Yeah. And
Oh,
again,
it just
give us her POV. Like, is it
uh-huh.
a mask? Does she really feel that way? Like, is she so
Ah,
about like sex?
it's
I
very
need to see inside
intriguing.
Elaine's brain.
Yeah. That final Nesta line though, look who decided to grow claws after all. Maybe you'll become interesting at last, Elaine.
Woo!
Oh my gosh, that one.
Woo!
That one is the reason Elaine leaves crying. I mean, it's rough. That's harsh. But also, like, it scratched an itch for me that I was like, gosh,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish, maybe not those exact words, but man, there are times I wish I could say something as sharp to someone in the moment when I'm really feeling it. And I don't because, don't burn your bridges. But
Yeah.
I like hearing it when other people say it.
Right. I agree. As somebody who can be sharp and venomous with her words, if not careful, I was like, yeah, sometimes, yeah, feels good to read it.
Yeah.
Read it and not say it. Last little nugget on Elaine. She was the first to know that Feyre was pregnant. She guessed it. But I also was like, you know what? Aside from Reese, Elaine's the person who's kind of around Feyre the most right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like not shocking that she would figure that out. But within their sisterly relationship growth, I'm sure that kind of meant a lot between the two of them to like share that moment of like, oh my God, yeah, yeah. So,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to move on to our next Bat Boy of Asriel.
Yes.
What I love about him is he is constantly feeling out the awkwardness in the room and needing to be the chaperone, but failing desperately. And the fact that he purposefully interrupts Cassian and Nesta in the dining room is so funny. Like he knows what's happening in there and he's like strategically making his steps be heard because we know he can be silent. He is always silent.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear him, it was on purpose. And then she leaves and he's like, I have to eat here.
It's like, no, you don't, Asriel. We know that the House of Wind will bring you food elsewhere.
Right. He's like, you guys doing the nasty in the table where I eat my breakfast.
Ain't nobody need to know.
Sorry.
Ain't nobody need to know. The house of Wind will clean it right up. Him being a cock block between Cassian and Nesta is so fucking funny to me.
Yeah.
It is honestly hilarious. But I'm also like, it's just the three of you up there in the house. You don't have to stop it. You could just join it. Anyway, Cassian, we're gonna move on from the sexual innuendos and talk for just a moment at least. We may bring it back, who knows. Cassian notes that Azriel doesn't look at Mor as longingly or as often anymore, that over the last few months something has changed between the two of them. Cassian doesn't need to be the buffer between the two of them quite as much anymore. Which I was like, did Mor and Azriel have a conversation? Has Azriel finally given up? What is the change there? So interesting. And then I was not at all really shocked by this because of his childhood. But Azriel notes when talking about, his excitement of being an uncle, that he's not really sure if he wants kids or not.
Yeah.
He's not entirely sure.
Those changes are definitely being noted. I think especially with Elaine, right? After, you think about him not really being as longing towards Mor anymore, and then Nesta makes those comments about Elaine becoming interesting. And it says that his shadows gathered in the corner of the room like snakes preparing to strike. And I'm going to assume that's because Az is ready to come to Elaine's defense. And maybe that's just growing more and more. We talked about how, I think he's staying at the House of Wind to avoid her a little bit, and his growing feelings and the tension. And it just keeps showing up.
And this parallel, right? Rhysand's, which they're mated, but his need to protect Feyre. Cassian's need to step in and protect Nesta. Azriel's need to step in and protect Elaine. Perhaps an Archeron sister for each of the Bat Boys. Last little piece about Azriel that I was not shocked about either, but felt very kindred spirits with him. Quote, he has a vicious competitive streak, and it's with sparring in the ring. It's with card games. It's anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Azriel's like, no, we are not finishing until somebody has actually won. Like, and I will win. And I went, I get that. I'm super competitive. So same. People are like, it's okay. It doesn't matter if nobody won. And I'm like, I have to win. I often don't win. I've learned that in life. But I'm like, I have to win. Finish the game.
Well, we're going on to our previous winner, if you will, Miss Feyre. Feyre, darling.
Yes, Feyre,
and
darling.
that shield is finally explained because she is
pregnant. Yay! Oh, it's so exciting. I mentioned it in the summary. I had a feeling that's what that was for. But this happened pretty quick, all things considered, with the fact that we have been told time and time again how hard it is for high fae and fae, I think in general, to conceive. And, within 9 months of their decision to get pregnant, she is. And I think, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to, anybody who has that desire to procreate, to have children, it can happen in an instant, right? It can be a one and done, but there are statistics that it often takes, though, either intense planning or time. It doesn't always happen the moment you want it to. And so I was shocked by how quickly it happened, but also when we think of things in like human terms in our world, 9 months is not out of the question. 9 months of trying is almost within average for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know for my husband and I was expecting it to take a lot longer. I was like, okay, let's see what happens, because it could take us a whole year. It took one try. So, and then that was done. I was like, oh, well, shit. Okay.
No need to practice.
Whoa. Well, Miss Feyre, it's going to take her 10 months to grow that little baby boy, but she's already 8 months, not 8 months in. Whoa, sorry. She's already 2 months in.
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa. So she has 8 months left. So we can kind of track that, as we go along and see how many weeks pass within this book. Now, she is worried about performing her normal powers out of concern of what impacts it would have this early in the pregnancy to the baby if she was to strain her body that dangerously. And I think that kind of takes Feyre out of the running to do any seriously heavy lifting in this story, which I mean is probably for the best because it's not about her. So maybe it's a good thing that she can't do a lot of the heavy lifting so that we can maintain our focus on Nesta. But yeah, we're probably not going to see her do a lot. Probably a lot of sleeping.
Yes.
A lot of eating.
Maybe some vomiting potentially in those early stages. Yeah, I think that was perfectly timed, right? Like it says if somebody wrote it that way, that she is no longer she is no longer in this moment, at least in this book, our main female character.
Right.
And this is a good reason for her not to be.
Yep.
This gives us something that makes us not go, well, where's Feyre? Why isn't Feyre doing something or helping or whatever? This gives us sort of that like closure or clarity a little bit as to why she cannot be kind of at the center of the action as much, if you will. I really appreciated that Nesta had the forethought to save telling the sex of the baby to Nesta first, so that they could have that moment, so that she could reach out her hand, even if Nesta doesn't see it that way. That's what it was for Feyre to say, here's something that we can have together.
Absolutely. And she says, do I need an excuse to share things with you? You're my sister. I just wanted to tell you before anyone else. That's it. Because Nesta questions of, are we counting, who little ticks for you told Elaine this? No, it's this, and it's a competition. It's not. And then Nesta kind of does her own reaching out of a hand when Elaine makes some sharp words and, Nesta levels some truths. And Feyre says, I've been guilty of the same things. She should not have leveled that truth only at you. Wow, that's actually quite kind of Feyre to reach out her hand in that way to say, that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair to you.
Very
and
mature.
I see you.
Very mature and wise.
And Nesta needs that. I mean, look at the way she had to come back at Cassian with like, of course you would defend her. No one's going to come over here and defend me.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in the right. And Feyre does. She's like, no, that wasn't fair for you. Go, Feyre.
We love Feyre. We also love our Daddy Rhysand. Which is making him, being a daddy. My God, he's protective. If we thought he was protective before, he is even more so now, which it's also Nesta's POV, right? But also Cassian is like, bro, step the fuck back. Like, relax a little bit. We get it. You're protective, whatever. But I like that there's this moment of like truce a little bit between him and Nesta when she's sort of like, he's looking at her like, I'll rip you to shreds if I have to protect Nesta and the baby. And without saying anything, they have this moment where she sort of like lifts her chin to him and basically is then telling him, I will never hurt Feyre or your baby. That is not what I am going to do. And I appreciated that they had that moment, even if they never grow in their relationship. Yeah, they are at odds with each other, to say the least. But I was curious then, that spell that he's got on Feyre, it's at the river house, but of course there's other people around right now. So it's like, it always on her? Is it just when other people are around Like, clearly it's because of the baby and to protect Feyre and the baby. But I was
Uh-huh.
curious if that's like a all the time kind of thing or just when people are
Yeah.
around
The way I read it is it's an all the time kind
all
of
the
thing
time.
because it's Feyre's task to figure out how to remove it on her own,
How to break it.
which means she has to have it on her at all times unless they want to do it because Reese can take it off.
Right. Well, and he expands it, doesn't he? Because like Cassian wants to come and like kiss her on the cheek when
Hmm.
they find out, and then he like hits the wall, and then Reese like adjusts it or something so he can basically give
Yeah,
her a kiss on the
it's
cheek.
cool.
But yeah, it's just an interesting spell. I'm like, this is not necessary by any means, but I'm almost like, can I have a novella of all of the other High Lords, like their
Hmm.
powers, a little bit more about their courts? Like that would just be so interesting to get a little bit more into each of those worlds.
Absolutely.
Which, speaking of those worlds, those other courts, Reese is still trying to help Tamlin, or at the very least, he's trying to help the Spring Court and therefore helped Prithian. But I think ultimately he is still reaching out his hand. He is being the bigger person and trying to at least help Tamlin help himself.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, Resand. I love that he's the bigger Fae, if you will, the bigger person. But
Bigger
we love a
man.
daddy. That's exciting. Tee.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, though, I am really happy for him. But I do miss his inner monologue that we got in A Court of Frost
Yeah.
and Starlight. Because, like, I feel like now I don't know all the sneaky little deets.
Yeah.
I don't know all the things that are happening. And I think there's things happening that we're not getting.
I know all of the extra stuff, like outside of training every day, and like what else is happening with the queens, and what does Azriel know, and what does Moore know, and we don't know any of it because we're not in Reese's head anymore. And I love Reese's head,
Yeah.
figuratively and literally. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about some friends.
Yes, we've got two little minor growing characters. So we're going to touch on Emery and Gwyn really quick. Emery, she comes to train. Yay. I loved that moment. I was so, so glad that she said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to note that she makes it very clear that she has no husband and no mate, at least at this
Mm-hmm.
moment. We learn that her own father clipped her wings. Not a healer, not anyone else. Her own father did
Poorly.
it. Yeah, unfortunately. And Cassian offers that maybe Maja could come and look at them, and maybe given some time, maybe Emery would come around to it. But yeah, super unfortunate that her father was the one to do it. And then just the little nuggets about her hobbies. She is a gardener and she reads, and she loves to read a romance novel.
Yes, girl after my own heart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Loves a good smutty book, longing for travel, and food with flavor, which, yeah,
Yes.
I love all those things. And she's a lot like Nesta, too. She didn't want to be taken for a coward. And you remember Cassian meets her for the first time in Frost and Starlight, and he goes, wonder what these two in a room together would be like. Well, they are a lot alike. And Nesta is the one who is like, I didn't take you for a coward. And Emery hears that and goes, I'm not. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna show up.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
I'm so glad that like came back from
yeah.
from Cassian thinking that, because I was curious too. I'm like, okay, so put them in a room.
Hmm.
Let's see
Let's
them
see.
together. Let's see what happens. And let's see what happens with our other friend, Gwyn. Love getting to learn a little bit more about her. So
Hmm.
she wears the priestess's robes, but she doesn't wear the hood, and she does not wear her blue stone, her invoking stone, on her
Hmm.
head. She has it, she keeps it in her pocket. She is from Sangrava. So that's where, from like episodes and episodes ago, that I was like, oh, this is a place, and Reese has rugs from here. And I was like, we hadn't heard of it. And you were like, well, maybe it was one of the places sacked by Hybern's army, which now I is confirmed. Cassian confirms that, and unfortunately confirms that Gwyn was tortured and sexually assaulted because of that sacking of
Mm.
Sangerbaugh, unfortunately, and that's why
Yeah.
she's in the House of Gwyn.
She has been through so much already, and while we don't necessarily know all the details of what happened, you can tell that she's someone who would understand Nesta. She doesn't feel like she deserves to wear her stone, and Nesta doesn't feel like she deserves love. Gwyn holds shame in her face when asked about training with a male and why she won't sign up, and Nesta knows shame all too well. And Nesta makes 1,000 mistakes, and Gwyn is fearful to make one.
Mm-hmm. She even says, quote, I don't like to fail. I can't. I don't want to make any more mistakes. Oof.
Yeah.
It makes me, I want everybody's POV, right? Like, I don't need to know the details of what happened in Sangerva. I don't. But what does Gwyn hold within her heart and her brain that makes her think that what happened there was her fault? And I hope that the training, helps her through that. And like she said, helps her not have to fail, not have to make any more mistakes, can step up, can make a difference. We also learn that she is a very young fae. She's just 28 years old. Like, not 280, not 528. She is 28. And then I went, same age as Nesta, is because Nesta's what, so 7 years older than Feyre, so 28 area. And I think too that then that's going to be great for their friendship, for Nesta to have someone who's literally in the same stage of life. Even though one is fae and one was made, they can kind of walk this journey together and be very even in it.
I also just want to note there's this is such a departure from what we were just talking about, but there are a lot of people who read fantasy books like this and they're always frustrated with getting the POV of a 19-year-old, the 20-year-old. They're like, I want an older woman. Okay, well,
here we go.
Nesta's a little bit older, and might I add, this book is a little bit hotter. So
they say it gets better with age.
Hey, what's up? Okay, so let's move on.
A good cheese.
Right? We're going to go into the things that maybe didn't quite click for us and what we want to watch for. So my first one I've come up with was, what do we think Nesta will trade her favor for?
There's so many ways that could go.
So many ways, right? It's hard to even begin with that. Now, I obviously am not going to say anything because I know.
You know
but
what she uses it for.
I was interested to see what you are going to guess. Like, if you could guess a lane. Not E-lane, but A-lane.
A-lane, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, at first I was like, wait, a lane?
No, sorry.
Yes.
A-lane. Just take a shot in the dark, throw the dart. Let's see if it lands.
So initially I was like, if she doesn't do some better healing, she's just going to ask to be taken down to a bar, right? The Wolf's Den or whatever it's called. Then I was like, maybe she'll use it for a sexual favor, but probably not because she doesn't need to. I don't know. She's very interested in having others train. So maybe she'll cash in that bargain to I don't know, convince Cassian to get her to do the blood rite or so. I don't know. That's far out there. That's far out there.
Whoa.
But I don't know where she will take it because I agree there
just
are
learned
so
how to
many
balance.
Avenues. Maybe, you know what, actually, maybe she'll use that bargain to convince Cassian and make him teach her how to use the Illyrian bow.
Ooh.
Because that was one of the first things that she noted was looking at the bow and saying, well, Feyre did teach me how to use a bow.
Do you remember what Rhys said in the last chapters of our last book? Whoever wants to learn the bow, that he would want to personally teach them.
And that would be cool. Such a cool growth moment between them. So that'll be my guess for this point is she'll cash it in to learn the Illyrian bow.
Cool. I love it. You'd heard it, listeners. Okay, what question for you?
The tattoos, the way that they appear on people's bodies, is that reflective of the bargain? Is that reflective of the person? Like, why do they show up the way that they show up? You know, Feyre initially, her first bargain with Rhysand is the eye on her hand, the sort of cat's eye, and it's watching her, right? And it's sort of this tether between them. What is that sort of, what is it, an 8-pointed star on Cassian and Nesta's back? What does that represent? What does that mean in the grand scheme of their bargain? Like, I feel like these tattoos are almost representative of what they, like Feyre's moon phases and Ramiel on her back. They feel reflective of who they are, and
everything you're saying is important, and I can say nothing more.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, so we'll learn more then. We'll learn more?
Maybe like by October, yes. It's going to take us a lot of books to answer that question.
All of those and all of those? Great. Fantastic. Awesome.
But your intuition is spot on.
Yes. Thank you. I am curious what happens if Tamlin doesn't break out of his beast form. Can someone take over the Spring Court? Would they have to kill him? Can that power just sort of be transferred off? Like, what happens if he never turns back into a person?
Yeah, that's...
What if this is the end of his
thought
story?
about that, and that's really scary.
Yeah,
I don't want this
really
to be
curious.
his end. I want him to redeem himself. It's not that I need to read his redemption arc, but I would like him to redeem himself and to like be a better person. Why wouldn't we want that for him, you know?
Exactly. This would just feel like a not closed chapter for him to just like go off into the dust as a beast. But that, I'm like, what
that happens. Some people can't come back.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll see. Gwyn and Nesta have that moment in the darkness where Gwyn has to use her invoking stone to protect them, to get them away from it. So when Nesta was looking into the darkness of the library, what was calling to her? We know it's not Bryaxis because Bryaxis isn't there. Is it a piece of Bryaxis? Is it Nesta's own mind? Is it the Cauldron? Is a Trove item potentially there? Is it something else? Like, what is this? Almost like a being. And then it makes me think of the darkness that was watching more. What are these pockets of darkness that feel like something?
So I have a theory. Here we go. The way the 7th level of the pit is described, which is the deepest one, it's described as neither good nor evil, but where life came from. A womb. Those are very interesting words to choose, okay? Plus, it puts Nesta in this trance, and it makes me think of the mother. And even Gwyn's stone lights up. What power lights up Gwyn's stone? The power of the mother. Gwyn describes it as a cat, the same way Nesta describes the house. There are some things going on here, and it's got me thinking the darkness is the mother, and the darkness is the house. Is the house the mother?
The mother? And
I'm
Nesta
like,
needs a mother. Nesta needs a... Yeah. I don't know, man. I like that. I'm here for it.
That's my thought.
I like
and
it.
this is
like
all based off of what it was described so far in this book. I'm not like including things that haven't been brought in. This is just what we've read, and I'm inferring based on that.
Yeah. We talk about the Dread Trove. The Dread Trove. That sounds like a pirate ship. Dread Trove. Yeah. Made me think of Pirates of the Caribbean. So I got to thinking, Feyre wasn't supposed to put the two halves of the book together, and she did. We're like, we don't want to put the Dread Trove items together. Will Nesta find them and do that? And then will she become like some scary super fae, or will she be able to like save the world with it? I was like, the fact that we were like, we don't want them together. We don't want the two halves of the book together. I was like, that feels the same. So we'll see.
Like a scary movie. Oh my gosh. Don't go in the basement.
Don't
Everyone
go there.
goes to the basement.
Exactly. It pushes the plot along. Okay, we have this quote from Cassian's POV. He supposed deep down that's what he was holding out for, the mating bond, what he'd seen between Feyre and Rhys. And he's kind of talking about like the wanting of kids and taking the next steps and whatever. So then I continue with like my internal monologue. So no mating bond, just that it doesn't look the way that he wants it to right now. But then we also get this moment where he says that moment with Hybern shredded and turned cold, what was between Nesta and Cassian. So I'm like, is there a bond, and the bond is just in a rough place? Is there no bond? I'm constantly going back and forth.
I get that. I'm going to recall back to Rhys talking about his bond with Feyre and how he kind of knew almost instantly when he saw her in his own dreams and then in person, but it never fully clicked until the moment he was about to winnow away after Amarantha's death. So it was always underlying, and we know that the males feel it sooner. But there still wasn't a click or a confirmation till much, much longer after that. So I think that's what's happening for Cassian, is like he knows and he can feel it. But it hasn't clicked because of some instant that hasn't happened yet, much like Rhysand and Feyre. I think it's still there.
It'll be his enormity entering.
Sex doesn't always do it, remember?
It doesn't, but between the two of them, I feel like that could potentially be, and I'm not even saying for her, or maybe for her, not for him. Cassie, yeah. But I'm like, for the two of them, that could be the thing that finally like clicks it into place, especially because it's not happening, so.
Yeah. Fair.
The Archerons, the sisters, do have one living human relative left, a cousin named Erston, who I think is in that continent that we don't know about or something. Does she ever come into play somehow? That's your one less living relative.
I mean, I guess I don't want to like give anything away, but also this is giving nothing away because the answer is no, but
not at the moment.
Not that I've read.
I just felt like that was, why would we mention that? We do have a cousin.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe in a future book, but I have never read about her yet. But you know what? We've been bringing up the continent more and more and more and more. So we know there's 2 more books left. So I think it's reasonable to theorize that maybe we'll get more from that.
And at least 2 more, right? Because isn't there maybe an 8th book?
Yeah.
Being worked on or something? Yeah.
So I think that's fair to think we might explore that direction. Maybe we will visit Erston soon, but we'll find out.
Who knows, man?
So I also, we have more questions left in this area than we typically do. So I have a question. Yeah. Why is Amren cold? It's warm season and this bitch is wearing a fur coat. Like, is she permanently cold from going into the cauldron? Maybe. Was she had fire within her before and now she doesn't have that. And now she's like, I'm cold. Chilly. I just thought that was interesting. Cassian's birth father went back to his wife and family. So does Cassian have step siblings? Does he know about them?
Did he kill them?
Yeah, that part. Interesting. Daddy Archeron traded spices. We know that he thought to go to Vassa, right? To go check that out, and was prepared to make a bargain with Koshie. So he's aware of both types of royalty. Mm-hmm. Do we think he ever traded spices with Faye?
Yeah.
He trades spices in Prithian, trades spices with other Fae in the continent. How else would have he fucking known to go find Koschei in Fae lands?
Right.
He had to have been there at some point before to know where to go. Very interesting.
Daddy Archeron and Mama Archeron, I'm like
there's so
give
much
me a
there.
novella on them.
What?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Especially because he has so much money, and even Mama Archeron references that the lords in the continent are not that rich, and would desire to marry a female with money. So where was Daddy Archeron getting all this traded money from? Who has
and how
really
was he getting over the wall?
Yeah, well, or the other continent. That's what I mean. Like maybe and does the wall extend through an ocean? I don't know. It's a great question. He could have gone through that way.
I think it showed because the wall was on the continent.
Yeah,
but you mean just like
you can bypass it through the water.
Yeah, I wonder if
and go up there.
Well, we know it doesn't extend to the water because that's how they get around it.
Yeah, so I'm saying maybe Daddy Archeron went whoop, trade some spices, get lots of money from Fae lands.
Montessor and Valahan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who's to say he hadn't been to Prithian? Who's to say he didn't get some of his super cool spices from there that they give to Emery? I don't know. Just some thoughts. Thoughts and questions that I have. Okay. Bellius is Emery's cousin. He went scouting on the continent and is proud of his accomplishment there. What are you doing in the continent? We know there's discourse happening with the Illyrians.
Right. What are the Illyrians doing on the continent?
Why are you on the continent?
Mm-hmm.
What? I have questions. And then Eris. We get this little line from Eris. And he's asked, why? Why did you do it? And he says, for the same reason I left more untouched at the border. He's about to say, didn't she tell you? But he stops himself. Perhaps you should ask more if that is true. I think she finally knows the answer. The last time we really got into Moore's head, she was not in a great place mentally. She is having some inner turmoil as she's going off. She's like, I need to get away from this place. We don't get it really said, but like I mentioned, she goes back and reviews that memory in her mind, and we hear Eris speak to her in a different tone than he does to everyone else, like he's masking in front of everyone else, which he frequently does. And this is another drop that memory is not what we've been led to believe.
I need some more Eris information.
So much information. Well,
yeah.
Friends, that brings us to our heroine's journey. And my journey today, we're going to focus in on something that many of us maybe feel but don't say out loud. That instinct to protect ourselves when our instinct to protect ourselves so much that we would maybe rather die than look foolish. At least that's what Nesta feels. Or even just to let someone see us fully. It's very scary. And for Nesta, vulnerability isn't just uncomfortable. It almost feels dangerous. Like giving someone the exact map of how to hurt her. So she keeps her guard up, she stays controlled, and never lets anyone too close to her. But then she meets someone who knows nothing about her past. No baggage, no expectations, no version of her that's already decided. And something kind of shifts, right? She meets Gwyn. She meets Emery. And for the first time, she gets to just be, without feeling like she has to defend or explain herself. And there's something so freeing about that, like taking a deep breath you didn't realize you were holding on to. And it's a reminder that sometimes the most healing relationships are the ones where you're not constantly trying to prove who you are or make up for what you've been in the past. And honestly, it makes you think about how often we hold ourselves back from that kind of connection because we're so afraid to be seen in the wrong way. But maybe vulnerability isn't about looking foolish. It's about giving yourself a chance to be known and realizing that the right people won't use it against you, but they'll meet you where you are.
Mm-hmm. Shocker. Very similar heroine's journey today. Opening up with this quote. We've been working for barely 2 weeks, Nesta. Physically, you might be seeing changes, but what's happening in your mind, your heart, will take far longer than that. Cassian's a smart male. He drops a lot of wisdom on us, reminding us that healing isn't just visible progress. It's not just what's on the outside. It's not just showing up and doing the work or seeing those small outward changes. The real healing is the kind that happens in your mind and in your heart, and that takes time. And honestly, it takes people. Nesta finding her circle, her version of a book club, if you will, reminds us how powerful it is to have people who get it to some extent, who support you regardless, and who help you keep going even when it's hard. Because healing is hard, but it's a little bit easier when you don't have to do it alone.
Now, I know you want to keep going. I know you want to turn the page, but we got to close the book on this one.
But hey, every epic needs a cliffhanger, right? So let's savor the suspense.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and write a review, please.
Yes, please, please.
And before you remove your bookmark to prepare for next week, we will be doing chapters 29 through 39. Remember that whether you are conquering your own kingdom or just cozying up with a good book, you are the main character of your own epic tale.
All right, queens, for real now. You got to put the book down, hold your crown high, and we will catch you on the next page.